You want shirts? I got shirts.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
What is up, Heroes of Dominion? My name is Charlie. This is Hero Wars Central, and on mobile, we recently had a Lilith Soulstone event. So, in today's video, I want to discuss where I would place her in the overall scheme of things in my own personal Hero Wars Central tier list. On screen, real quick, before I move ahead, I've got the maxed stat list page for Lilith on the mobile version of the game. Check that out if you want to compare it with your current stats or tanks that you might already have. And then on the screen now, I've got my 5 different tiers. I know that the names are kind of weird. They're where I named them from help with my live stream, and it's meant to be funny. But generally speaking, there are 4 main arena PvP player versus player tiers, and then 1 play versus environment tier. So the basis of this tier list is effective in all teams. Utility and build a team around. You would only build a team around them, but they're not effective in every team. They are effective in most teams, but they're not strong enough to build a team around. They're only good in the campaign tower or outland. And then finally, the lowest tier would be the heroes that I wouldn't recommend spending any resources on because they're either too weak, they need an update, or they're bugged, or they're really just not recommended for new players. So the idea behind this tier list, to spend another 5 or 10 seconds talking about this, is to show videos to new players to describe the utility of an individual hero if somebody has a question about the hero. And today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about Lilith. First, we have her character screen, a little bio there, and you can see that she fights in the front line. Asterisk. She is a tank / control hero, and as most tanks are, her main stat is strength. Strength is important for tanks as it gives health, and of course a little bit of physical attack if you need it. But I want to talk a little bit about her front line. One of the main issues with Lilith as a tank, and let's just get this out of the way. One of the main issues with Lilith as a tank is even though she's a quote-unquote front line hero, she is the rearmost tank of all of the tanks. And in fact, of all frontline heroes, we're talking about warriors and different heroes that, different mages and supports that fight up front. She only has 3 or 4 heroes that sit behind her in the front line. So if she's on your team as a tank, generally speaking, she's not going to be in the front of your team. So that causes an issue. Not a big issue because one of her skills, but we'll talk about that in just a second. She's got 4, just like every hero does, and her gray activated ultimate ability, whatever you want to call it, is called Armageddon. And this is an area of effect, explodes the ground under the opponents, dealing damage and stunning them. Modified by magic attack. Chance to stun is modified by hero level and skill. So that's one good crowd control ability. Her green ability is Nether Breath, hits the opponents in front of the caster with fire. So this will damage the front line of the enemies, and it's also modified by magic attack. Her blue ability, and this is that movement ability that I mentioned earlier. It's called Flame Ram, and this dashes to the nearest opponent, which is usually the tank or the front hero or whatever, dealing damage and pushing them away. Now, there's a lot of teams that really takes advantage of this ability, being able to push the tank back, exposing that second hero in line for your warrior to tear into your Qing Mao or maybe your Kira or Kark. Very effective hero in that regard, if you can take advantage of it. Little foreshadowing there. And then finally, her violet ability is probably the coolest ability that she has, and that is Possession. And this is going to be what gives her utility. And I'll talk about that in just a second. So every time that she uses that blue Flame Ram ability, the Lilith's current health and maximum health is increased by 8%, and it just keeps on going. And what's actually pretty cool is she gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And on screen, real quick, I've got a screen grab from Tim Davis's team with showing her to be twice the size of Luther and Martha and Ju, and it's just just a very funny image. 4 skins. One is different on mobile than it is on Facebook. We'll talk about the Facebook ones first. She has her default skin of Strength, her Predator skin, which is very, Egyptian cat themed. It's magic attack, which is good to modify her abilities. Her stellar skin is an armor skin. And then finally, her winter skin is an armor skin, and that's on Facebook. On mobile, all of her skins are the same with the exception of her winter skin, and that's a health skin. And to me, the mobile version of the character got the better version of the skin, and I think a lot of people agree with that. One of the things that Lilith was missing was not armor, but having more max health will take advantage of that plus 8% violet ability that I mentioned earlier. So it's very strong. And in the order of leveling the skins, in my opinion and the opinion of many others, I would level the health skin first if you have access to it, strength, armor, and then magic attack. For her artifacts, and this is actually a curious screen, this one on the glyphs screen. So she's got magic defense for the whole team. It's great to have a tank that provides magic defense. Most of them provide either armor or physical attack or magical attack or something like that. But magic defense is a rarer skin. I'm sorry, a rarer artifact for tanks. Very happy to see that here. Her book, her Manuscript of the Void, is magic penetration and magic attack. It's interesting that this tank has magic penetration. I find that very curious, and also that her main stat is strength. So of course her Ring of Strength being, you know, the standard for heroes that have strength as a main stat. So for me, I would probably level up her ring first, given that strength modifies the health the most, and then probably the book, and then the contract last. If I was going between, if I had to order which one of these I would level. So finally, let's talk briefly about her glyphs. She's got magic penetration, which is interesting for a tank, but I love it. I love that, not every tank is built the same. I love variety. I think that's the best part about this game, is the different ways you can build teams. So the other glyphs that she has, and here's all 5 glyphs in order of how I would level them: health, strength, armor, magic penetration, of course, and then magic attack. And again, health to take advantage of her health pool and her violet ability, strength to, again, increase her health, armor, and magic defense if she had one, but then magic penetration and magic attack to modify her skills. So where do I feel, and this is my opinion, this is my subjective opinion, where do I feel that Lilith lands on my unique tier list? So in my opinion, she's okay in some regards, so I wouldn't just write her off completely as dead battery tier. She is effective in some teams. Is she only effective in the tower and Outland and campaign? Sure, she can be used in, against some Outland boss fights. Not the most effective tank to be used in those fights or in the campaign. But where I would put her, I would actually put her in Stop Sign tier. And Stop Sign tier is described as a hero that doesn't bring a ton of utility to every team, but she's strong enough that you could potentially build a team around her. And what do I mean by that? Well, this is more evident on mobile than it is on Facebook. I don't think she's very effective on Facebook at all. I think that she kind of loses out to some other tanks, given how many stats all the tanks get on Facebook. But on mobile, there is an interesting team that I got from. It's a variant of a team that I got from Tim Davis, and Tim, he actually had a really interesting Luther, Andvari, Satori, Celeste Martha, or Celeste Dorian. I can't remember what it was, but it was a Luther, Andvari, Satori team that was designed to counter a large swath of the meta on his server, including Kark teams and other teams. And I really fell in love with that team, and I started building that team on my mobile account. Well, then later I saw that you could sub in Lilith for Satori on defense, and I think that's where Lilith shines the most, is defense. It is a strategy. I don't know if it's the best strategy, but it is a strategy to time out your opponent. And if you have tanks that can deal damage and heal themselves effectively, and then maybe you swap out your very squishy hero for a second tank or maybe a third tank, that I believe is the most effective use of Lilith. Now, I don't know that I entirely agree with timeout teams. I think they're pretty easy to counter, but I think that's the best place for Lilith. I think that's the best place, and it's not a terrible place. There are some teams that will have a lot of trouble with timeout teams. Kark teams in particular don't seem to really do enough damage unless you swap out Maybe you swap out Astaroth for more offensive tank like Cleaver. Maybe you use the Helios. Maybe you use the Jorgen Kai variant. There's a lot of ways to tweak your Kark teams to make it work, but that's where I feel that she lands. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think of Lilith? I know that we have, we didn't really have access to her on mobile until now, and on Facebook. Do people really care about Lilith? I don't know. I don't know. You can get her soulstones real easy on Facebook, and I don't ever see her anywhere. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys have an effective Lilith team, let me know down in the comment section down below. On screen now, I'm going to put up a couple of other tier list videos that I have done in the past that you might find interesting. So keep watching those if you are bored and have nothing else to do but watch YouTube content. If you do, great. If not, that's fine too. I love you all, and good luck in Dominion.